Hey there, this is Travis Steerwalt with Air Power Live. Today's topic, polyester filters. All right, we have a number of filter vendors with Air Power, and one of our vendors that is a strong partner for us is ChemWove out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Stephen and Jennifer are great partners with Air Power. We work with them on a number of projects from small to extremely large truckload business. So what I want to do is go through what Air Power has decided on for our go-to polyester products and what product to use for what application. But first, there are different ways you can order polyester filters. It starts with the behemoth, the mammoth, the roll. Now, rolls can be a master roll, which is a very full roll of 120 inches. This is 60 inches, so there would be two of these in a bag. 120 inches is the master roll size, which is twice this. And they are 90 feet in length, and they're rolled and coiled and basically stuck in a giant bag, tied off on both ends. And that's the way it ships. It starts at a 120 inch wide master roll and can go all the way down to as thin as you want it. Typically the thinnest that we slice those rolls is around 20 inches wide. So that's the number one way that we sell polyester. Number two would be panel filters. Panel filters, this is a P3, industry-wide known as a P3 intake panel filter. This is used in most doors, like doors to an open spray booth, as the way to clean the air on the way into the paint booth. So when you're making up air through a standard open face with doors booth, this is going to be to the outside of the booth, and the green with the tack is going to be on the inside of the booth. So your air is coming into the door, and it's not being stopped by tack here, but it's filling up inside the filter and then being stopped by the tacky layer in the back. But panel filters do way more than just intake filters. We have at our disposal probably 8 to 10 different panel filters. P1 all the way up to like P15, and we can custom make these depending on the application. We have a wide selection of panel filters available. So we've talked about rolls, master rolls, and panel filters. Now we move to bag filters. As you can tell, they call it a bag filter because, if you hold it this way, it looks like two bags, right? So bag filters are commonly used as a secondary filter like we use in our booth here in Chattanooga and in other branches as well. We use it as a secondary layer behind the blanket to capture the secondary overspray that's getting past the first layer. This, again, just like the panel filters and just like the roll media, is endless how many different bag filters we have produced. It depends on your airflow, it depends on what you're catching, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But bag filters are a workhorse, and our standards are 20 by 20 with a 15-inch deep pocket. And the benefit of this over this is that with this filter we get more square footage area inside each pocket than we would get on just the surface area of a flat panel filter. Let me put this back up here. All right. The third section, we go to cut pads. And that is where you take any kind of roll media like this and you cut it to any size you want. This is a great example. These are like 22 inches wide by like 44 inches long. And they're simple, standard cut pads. And we can roll these up, we can stack them, and we can put them in bags and ship them off to the customer. If the customer has a custom application where, let's say it's a spray booth, a chain on edge spray booth with a gun that shoots across a conveyor, and they have 2 channels on either side of the booth that just happen to be this size, we can have cut pads made this size, so there's no cutting, no labor involved with getting those cut ready on the side of your booth to then install them, and they will all be the same size and you're ready to go and ready to do changes. Cut pads also come in the smaller sizes. A cut pad is anything. We do circles, triangles, whatever you need, we can cut it that way, or ChemWolf can cut it that way. Now let's talk about our most popular types of filters. So we've talked about the ways we can make those filters, right? So I have these in a particular order in front of me. These are the 4 workhorses for Air Power customers that are using polyester filters. Number 1 is SPS 1.0. The 1.0 stands for 1 inch, the SPS for Super Paint Stop. Basically, this was the workhorse for Air Power's customers for years. This particular filter we have improved upon over the years. Although this is the most, if you would call it budget conscious, I have these in order here. This is just a fraction more. This is just a fraction more than one before it, and a fraction more than the one before it. So you're not talking a huge price difference, but you're talking a huge effectiveness difference in your booth when you're trying to capture whatever it is you're capturing. So this one we typically use for very high economic situations where somebody's looking for just the cheapest thing they can get to do the best job they can get. It's a great filter, but we often use this also for glues, adhesives, paint that dries fairly quickly, but dries hard on the surface, not into a powdery scenario. Okay, SPS 1.0. The next one is Purple MDM, which has been around, I want to say, for about 6-7 years and has really gained ground with Air Power customers. The next 2 have gained significant ground with Air Power customers. This was formulated very similar to the SPS 1.0. This one we call Purple MDM 1.0. It's about 1.5 to 2 inches thick. White is the entry side, and it's very open. You could actually see a little bit of purple through there, but you'll also notice something. It's very uniform, okay? And towards the back of that, it is colored purple. And then the filter actually tightens. The denier, or the opening, the way that it opens, is open on the front to allow paint to start getting into it, to start filling, to backfill the filter. And then as it goes towards the back, it closes off so that we want to stop that paint. This has proved very significant in liquid operations where the liquid stays runny, it doesn't fully dry all the way to paint that fully dries fairly quickly, but that does not turn into a dust or flashes off to a dust or dry to a dust. And it holds a ton of paint. This is, I believe, a 99.86, and this is a 99.85, somewhere around there. So we're talking really, really high capture rates. So this is Purple MDM. So this one's really good for liquid that stays wet, or liquid that when it hits the filter starts to dry pretty quickly but stays wet enough to embed and start soaking up into this filter. The next one is probably the second highest in overall usage from Air Power. It's going to bounce between these 2. But this is basically, this is SPST 2.0, Super Paint Stop TAC 2.0. It's 1.5 to 2 inches thick. It is white on the front and orange with a tack on the back. The purple and the white have no tack. This one has a strong tacky layer, and this is the same thing in the roll size. And this is fantastic in powder or dust operations. If you have, like, some people get in trouble because they're like, yeah, I'll have account managers call, and they're like, a customer just called me and wants to know what filter to use. I'm like, well, tell me about the paint. What are they spraying? And they'll say, well, they're spraying a liquid paint. I'm like, well, that doesn't tell me anything. What does that paint do when it leaves the gun and it's on its way to the filters? Does it flash off and become a tacky dust? Does the dust dry? Can I hit the filter and see dust just start flying in the air? You know, tell me about the overspray characteristics. That's what I need to know to decide my filter, not whether it's liquid or powder, because a liquid can be powder. They could be using it to do sanding in the booth. This would be great for sanding in the booth. Those of you that are watching that deal with sugar mills or flour mills, this type of product is used in those applications as well to hold back that dust from moving on in the operation and causing explosion scenarios. So SPST 2.0 is great for powder, for sanding operations, for liquid that turns dusty, for any of those situations. And I do love that product. The last one that I want to talk about in the standard category for paint booths is what we call high cap, high capacity. I'll call it high cap. High cap, if the camera was up here really close, I'm going to try to get it in the light so you can see it maybe. You'll see the front of this glistening. This is extremely open on the front end. And if I look down on the filter that way, you can see it's extremely open and very wiry on the front end. And then it gets softer as it comes back to a very soft filter, very similar to these, but it's much more closed off than these. This filter has proven itself in high volume liquid applications where you have a fixed gun or multiple guns moving in the booth, shooting the same direction constantly as parts are moving by. And what this allows to happen is, and I'm going to lift this up, it allows the paint to hit, and because you've got these big fibers on the front end, it allows the paint to start running down, create sort of a waterfall in the front. And that waterfall can be collected in troughs at the bottom, which eliminates all of that paint having to be hauled out in a really heavy filter. And it's keeping that paint out of the fan blades behind it. This is often used with another layer or two. You have to have a little bit higher than average airflow for this to work properly because you are catching an astronomical amount of paint with it. All right, last two more things I want to talk about. We deal a lot in the spray booth world, but we also do a lot of business with customers that are asking for help in the HVAC market. And we have two products. We've had two products. We now have three. But the two products that have done the majority of work for us in the HVAC market are the 1-inch blue and white that's dry or tack, either one. This one happens to be dry. But it's white on the dust entry and blue on the dust exit. Or the 2-inch blue-white dry or with tack. This one happens to have tack. It's significantly thicker, you can tell, than the previous 1-inch, obviously. And it's got a nice tack on the back of it to help keep those dust particles from moving through. So in a more critical application, you can go with the tack. But this one has been developing for a little while now. Fiberglass, a lot of people have complained about fiberglass, the installation of the fiberglass, you know, the itchy arms, the itchy things on your clothing that gets on your clothing, and it can be a problem. Also, fiberglass notoriously doesn't catch everything you need it to catch. It does okay, but it's just not at the level of a polyester or some of the higher end paper technology like the RP paper. So ChemWove actually came up with a product that had nothing to do with Air Power in the beginning. It was customers that were buying large quantities of fiberglass and were going through, were having issues with the fiberglass supply, and had them develop this product. This is what we have called FGR poly, or fiberglass replacement poly. FG for fiberglass, R replacement polyester. FGR poly. This is an FGR poly, 10 by 10, little or like a 12 by 12, a 1 square foot. It is white in the front. It's about 3/4 to an inch thick, and the back is a green with a tack. And it works fantastic, and it's worked so well. They're replacing truckloads from people that used to buy fiberglass from other vendors, are now replacing it with a friendly fiberglass replacement polyester product. And I could do this all day long, and I'm not going to have itching. I'm not going to be irritated. I mean, I might be irritated if I irritate myself all day long, but it's not going to bother your skin. It installs absolutely fantastic, and it holds into a grid very, very well. It's very, very firm, solid. So this can be made in rolls, bags, panels, cut pads. We can do whatever we want with this, just like we do anything else. So if you're having issues with the fiberglass world, reach out to us and ask about the FGR poly. I think that about wraps it up with our polyester demonstration. We certainly appreciate ChemWove, and we certainly appreciate your business at Air Power. If you want a filter audit, if you need a fresh set of eyeballs on your operation, you want to talk about filters, give us a call. 1-800-334-1001. Go to our website. There's a lot of information there, airpower-usa.com, or visit us on our social media sites, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hit them all up. We're there. We've got a lot more videos for you, and we'd be glad to help you. Give us a call today. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Air Power Live.